Hello, Coronation. I'm Minnie Hunt, and I'm thrilled to share with you a great conversation I recently had with Steve Hatchell. Steve is the president and the CEO of the National Football Foundation and the College Football Hall of Fame. And recently, we have gotten word that Ndamukong Suh is on the ballot this year. So I thought it would be a fun interview just to talk with him about his experience in the College Football Hall of Fame, and come to find out he has decades of experience in college athletics, beginning with the Big 8 being an associate commissioner and the Big 12 being the first commissioner. And he's been in this position for the last 20 years. So Steve knows all the people that we have come to love and admire in college football, especially he shared stories about Tom Osborne and Bob Devaney and Frank Solich, and even our current leadership under Matt Rhule. So I really hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed it, and let's just get started. With Minnie Hunt from Coronation, I'm here with Steve Hatchell, who is the president and CEO of the NFF and College Football Hall of Fame. Welcome, Steve.
Welcome, Minnie. Good to see you. Happy Friday.
Oh, yes. Happy Friday. I forgot it's Friday. So you're so kind to accept my invitation for an interview. But I think that part of the reason might be your special relationship with Nebraska over the years, because as I was reading, you were part of the Big 8 and part of the Big 12 prior to being president and CEO.
Correct. And so it goes back a long ways. So I'm a graduate of the University of Colorado and spent a lot of time with the football program when I was there. So my time goes back to a lot of people at Nebraska. Bob Devaney was the coach back then, and we all had immense amount of respect for Bob Devaney. He was a terrific person, terrific coach, and got to be a friend and a long time until he passed away, unfortunately. And so I have great respect for the University of Nebraska and all the things that they did and continue to do. And so it's a fun part for me to recollect anything relative to Nebraska.
I bet. And you said you graduated from the University of Colorado, so that would make you a rival, wouldn't it?
It was for a long time, you bet. And it was always challenging. In fact, one of the great things that I like to point out, a lot of people forget, was in 1971. I'd already graduated, but in 1971, and this has never been done since. The Big 8 conference went 1, 2, 3 in the final poll. Nebraska was national champions. Oklahoma was number 2, and at Colorado we were number 3. And we were really good. Oklahoma was really good, and Nebraska was terrific. And it was a very special time. Very special time.
So it sounds like that's what got you interested in this whole thing.
Well, I've been involved with football for a long time, and Colorado had great coaches, and the head coach at the time was a guy by the name of Eddie Crowder, who became a really good friend. And I wasn't going into sports administration whatsoever. And after I'd graduated, he was the football coach, but he then became the athletic director. And we had a dinner one night, which I just thought the world of him, and had become a good friend. And so he asked, I was going to New York to work for an advertising agency, and he asked me to stay 1 year to help him put his own team together to be the athletic director and football coach. And it's not hard to live in Boulder, Colorado. And it was great. It was great for me. And so 1 year became 5 there, and then the launch into the rest of my life, I guess is a way to say it, but it all started there.
That is such a neat story. Wow. And very historic too. Like I was just mentioning to you, like the people that you've got to meet over the years has got to be such an incredible list.
Well, I've been blessed, to be honest with you, and I like people, and I like being around people, and I like knowing them, so that it's not just hi, how are you? It's let's share a little time, and I like that, and I like to think that I accumulate friends, and that they consider me a good friend, and so I've known some wonderful people, continue to know a lot of wonderful people, even in the job I'm in now.
Yeah. So that the job that you're in now, you've been doing this for 20 years,
Mhm.
right? And what's a brief history of the NFF and the College Football Hall of Fame?
Well, one of the problems with the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame is that we do not have a elevator speech. So when people say, "Who are you?" There's no quick answer.
Mhm,
We're not part of the NFL, in which a lot of people jump right away. We're not part of the NCAA. We are an independent 501(c)(3) non-for-profit,
mm,
and we're 78 years old this year. And we were there and have been created, and we've been asked to stay true to our mission, which is that we're in charge of the College Football Hall of Fame that we created in 1951. So it's to preserve the history of the game. So all the things that you see in the Hall of Fame itself, all are artifacts that belong to the National Football Foundation, accumulated over the decades. We also work really hard on preserving the present, talk about what's going on today in the game, and how do we take on the challenges, because there's a lot of challenges all the time. And the third part, which is really important, is to make sure that we prepare for the future. What's a game going to look like in the future, from high schools all the way up? And if you were to take a look at our board of directors, Archie Manning is our chairman, but we've got 53 people that are committed to the future of the game, and
mhm,
they like being in our board. So it's wonderful people like Tim Cook, who's the head of Apple. It's 3 NFL owners, the commissioner of the NFL himself, 3 commissioners of the most powerful conferences in the country, athletic directors, and business leaders, very powerful people from around the country, college presidents, etc., who believe in the future of the game, and they like being part of what we do, because we have to ensure, and it's a job of the National Football Foundation, to make sure there's a game in the future, that there's football in the future. So it's a big agenda, and we're a small entity. We've only got 9 people that work for the Football Foundation, but we like to think of it as an inverted pyramid. Start small, but then we have a pretty large footprint.
mhm,
So, so we're the ones that created the College Football Hall of Fame. We built a new one 10 years ago in Atlanta, Georgia, that we're very proud of. And then we give away millions of dollars worth of scholarships every year to the top football scholar athletes. So it's a good mission for the Football Foundation. We have a lot to do. These are very challenging times, and a lot of times people forget that there are 777 colleges and universities that play college football,
mhm,
and there's 81,000 college football players in any given year. Well, only 0.6% of that group is ever going to make it to the NFL in any given year. That
mhm.
means that 99.4% are going to go on and do something else. And we believe it's part of our task to make sure that those who play and graduate, that they get a good step in life. And we want them to be the leaders that they were in football. We want them to be the leaders in life as they go through life. So,
That's so interesting, that last part, because I believe I've heard Matt Rhule, our head coach, say almost those exact words. That's one of his missions too.
well, Matt's really good that way. And we got to know Matt a little bit when he was at Baylor. And then he went to the pros. And I like Matt a lot. And, the game has changed a lot. This is the recruiting comes down to, many comes down to, a lot of it is just dollars and cents if you got the money to get the kids in. But Matt's been true to that mission all the way across the board, and as such, we like that a lot, because it's a tough time to say we're after the academics, that we're after the mission, and the model that football creates, the platform by which young guys can go off and do great things in life. And so we have to showcase that, and with people's help like Matt and a lot of other coaches, we think we can get there.
I noticed on your website that you have a thing called I Played. It's like videos, I guess, of ex-players that can talk about their experiences.
What it is we were asked to create this, and we actually started it 5 years ago, and then we let it go dormant for a little bit. And the whole idea is that if you look at our board of directors, we've got great former players like Ronnie Lott, Archie Manning, Lynn Swan, Archie Griffin, Heisman Trophy winner from Ohio State, etc. And they're the very first ones to say, look, I was recognized. I played in the pros. I did this. But let me tell you about my teammates. Let me tell you about the guys that played with me and what they're doing today. So whereas the Hall of Fame is essential and a big thing of what the Football Foundation does, we think it's even bigger to highlight in all 50 states the guys that played football, guys that wore helmets, and what are they doing now? And so the I Played campaign, identification campaign, is to put a spotlight on the guys that played. Look, I played, and I'm now a bank president. I played, I'm now principal of a school. I played, I'm now a teacher. I played, I'm now a military leader. I'm in show business. And we have them in all walks of life. And if you were to look at our database that we're just getting started here in our office now, you'd see a list of 6,000 to 7,000 guys that played college football that went on to do wonderful things in life. And we think that's an essential aspect of our messaging for the future, that you can play football. Forget all of the other things, transfer portal and NIL and all of that. There's a lot of people that are doing great things in this country that they got a lot of lessons from football, and they carried it over into their life as well.
Mhm. Yeah. That's an incredible mission. Very encouraging. It reminds me a little bit of what um, the foundation for that Tom Osborne started with his wife,
Mm-hmm.
investing in the youth and investing in young kids, but also then, you know, I just see like the help here as they're young, as they're in college, and then going beyond. I think it's really encouraging for the
Yeah,
sport.
you bet. And there's a lot of people. We used to have a lot of fun. The great thing about when you watch Nebraska play in the old days was, and I'm sure today too, it was easier to reflect back when I was intimately involved with it. But Nebraska always had great scholar athletes who were offensive linemen, and the National Football Foundation recognizes scholar athletes. And it seemed like every year there was at least one, if not two, Nebraska scholar athletes that were offensive linemen. If you're going to build a football team, you do it with great offensive linemen. And Nebraska just had, one year after another, just had the most spectacular people come through they were leaders. They were really good football players, but they were smart. They were tough. The Nebraska system had really nurtured a lot of those people. So it's been really fun. And Tom Osborne's always been committed to that. And he didn't drop the mantle at all when he became the head coach. He kept that going with all of those great linemen that they had. They had a lot of great players at all positions, but those offensive linemen were really something.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. Okay, well, you know, when I received the email that was sent out about the ballots that who's on the possible ballots here, uh, it raised a question. Who actually gets to vote on these players becoming part of the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's a clear-cut process, and it's been in place. Keep in mind, by being 78 years old, for over 60 some odd years, we've had this process in place. And so, if you're a player, you have to have been a first-team All-American as a player. There's no way around that. And you have to be out of football 10 years, etc. And your school has to nominate you. We don't allow
Oh.
families or people or whatever to nominate. We want to hear from the school, because schools will say, this is our guy. Some guys might not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So the schools will nominate guys and say, hey, here's our guy. We'd like to have full consideration. So they nominate, and then we take all of the nominations that come in. And keep in mind, all of the schools and all the divisions get to nominate football players for the Hall of Fame, as long as they meet the criteria that they were first team All-American at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Then that list is accumulated. We have a screening committees. There's 9 of those around the country. So depending on where the school is, it goes out to the screening committee. Screening committee then will pick who are the top ones from that particular area. So it's not just one for the state of Nebraska. It would be in part of the Midwest. Country's divided up in 9 areas. And it's a lot of times people know better that are out there, because it's sports writers, it's former Hall of Famers that live in different areas that put this group together. They submit a list of names, then that comes into our office, and we accumulate that and develop a list of approximately 75 or 76 candidates for any given year. And that's basically for the Division I, as you might say, the FBS category.
Mm-hmm.
We also have then that group for the Division II, Division III, other divisions, to get their guys into the Hall of Fame. Because if you played, you're eligible. So it doesn't matter whether you went to Johns Hopkins, or you went to Nebraska, you're eligible.
Right. Do they have to have had an NFL career?
Not at all. In fact, we don't ask for any pro background whatsoever. So when those 75 names then come in, then we have what's called an honors court. And there's 22, 25 people on the honors court, former coaches, sports writers, Hall of Famers, whatever. And they will pick the Hall of Fame class for that next year. So the process that you're referring to is we got all the names that are out there right now. We get them back from the screening committees. We put the list together. Honors Court meets in August, and they'll put the class together for 2026. So it's a pretty good process, and for players and coaches, and it's withstood the test of time.
It has. Which I was wondering, do you foresee any more changes and expansion of criteria? I'm sure you get this question all the time, because people want to know, why isn't so and so in, or whatever. Do you foresee any changes coming?
No, we really don't. Keep in mind that we like to tell everybody, because when you've got schools and you have passionate fans, a lot of those schools will say, well, we've got our guy. We got our guy. He might not have been an All-American, but he was a great player. Well, this is not the Hall of Participation. This is the Hall of Fame. And if you've got 5.7 million guys that have played college football since 1869, there's a lot of competition to get in the Hall of Fame. And by being a first-team All-American, that becomes a pretty strong benchmark by which you've got to look to see a little different than anybody else. And so I don't see any changes in that at all. In fact, our board has been pretty steadfast about making sure that we stay with the criteria, that we don't deteriorate from that whatsoever. And it's tough. There's a lot of guys that played that were great players. They just weren't first-team All-Americans. And but that's our point of differentiation.
I see. Okay. And to that point, Nebraska has had 20 inductees already, and we're looking at having our 21st with Ndamukong Suh, who was a defensive player. It's pretty exciting for Nebraskans. And I think, it's given us a nice refresher on our history. I mean, we've had guys in, just all throughout history.
Yeah, there's the longtime sports information director at Nebraska. His name was Don Bryant, And Don was a great friend, and he was superb on historical reflections on Nebraska football. And I think there was one that we always used to give him a hard time about, but when Notre Dame had their great run in the 40s and the 50s and all of that with their great coaches, Nebraska had a winning record against Nebraska or against Notre Dame, that didn't happen to many institutions. And so the history of Nebraska football is superb, and with great history, great players, great dedication, great fans, absolutely spectacular fans. And we just recently put Frank Solich into the Hall of Fame, and he deserved it. He went in as a coach, but I've been around long enough to remember when he was a player, and he was a great player. And Frank is not real tall, and they had monster offensive linemen back then, and he would show people how he could go around those offensive linemen and really be a superb running back in the day. And so we were really tickled to get Frank in the Hall of Fame. He's a good friend and a really good coach, and so he's probably the most recent one that we put in who has Nebraska ties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Nebraska has 7 coaches.
Correct.
And that is just, wow. That is, I mean, it's indicative of a very good program.
It is, and it's indicative of just the commitment to the program overall, from top to bottom, from not only the whole state, but the presidents that they've had, athletic directors, et cetera. It's a superb commitment that they've had, Minnie. That is, it's one of the reasons they were so successful. You got to have commitment. Got to have commitment at the top, and they had that, and they've had that.
Yeah, and I think we have it again, don't you?
You mean with Ndamukong Suh? Oh yeah. I mean, he's he's one of those that he kind of exemplified the position that he played. I mean, he's about as good as it gets. He won all the awards you could possibly get. He was a great player, and the program was great. So to be a great player on a great program says it all, because that means he was a leader, and he set the table on how we're going to get this done. And so, as we like to say, whether it's this year or whatever, he'll be in the Hall of Fame, and Hall of Fame will be better with him in it. So we're looking forward to getting into that process for this year.
Yes. And okay, just real quick, the Hall of Fame, the College Football Hall of Fame is in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was reading that it has a football field in it. Is that true?
It has not a full football field. It's got about 30 yards.
Oh, okay.
And the Hall of Fame is 3 floors, and it's imagine an open area, and all around it are different things to show off different aspects. But right in the middle is a football field of 30 yards wide, like a football field. It's got goalposts on either end, so kids can go in and have fun and throw the football around and experience what it would be like to be on AstroTurf and artificial turf and all of that. So,
oh yeah, you have to have all that, and the different helmets and things like that, I'm sure, are all showcased there too.
Some of that, but we the whole idea on this Minnie was to make it more for we wanted a younger audience to participate in it, and there's nothing more dull to young people than looking at old helmets and shoulder pads and shoes.
That's true.
So the idea is to make this much more interactive, to make it a lot of fun, and the Hall of Fame is on the 3rd floor. When you go in, you can see all of the names and etched on the glasses that are hanging in there. And we want that part to be reverential. But the other 2 floors are fun. It's the experience of the game, and the tailgating and hearing players talk, and a lot of different things to participate in. So it's a good experience.
Yeah. Well, now I really want to go.
Well, you should go. You'd like it. You could do your show there. It'd be fun.
Oh, wouldn't that would be amazing. Yes. Well, just really quick, I wanted to make sure because I know that one of your assistants had uh, clarified this, and it's confusing because the name is so long. The National Football Foundation and College Football Hall of Fame.
That's
These are
correct.
two separate but also intertwined companies. Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And we give a lot of our impetus at the beginning to General Douglas MacArthur.
Mm.
And when he was done being the general in the Army and retired from the Army, and was a great leader in the Second World War, et cetera, et cetera. And he got together with Grantland Rice, which was a well-known, noted sports writer. He's the one that created the name Four Horsemen of Notre Dame. And the legendary Army coach, Red Blake, who he was very close to. And Red Blake was an unbelievable coach. He's got more guys in the Hall of Fame than any other coach in history. Some of his assistant coaches were guys like Vince Lombardi and Tom Landry. The list goes on and on. He was superb. And so the three of them really said, we're going to showcase college football and what it means for society, what it means for guys individually. And they really created the blueprint by which the Football Foundation exists and operates today. So we owe a lot to that. And we were able to capture MacArthur's desk when he retired from the Army. He moved into the Waldorf Astoria, but he kept his desk where he had done all of those great things during the war and later on. And so that's in the Hall of Fame and part of our history, but it's a rich history and it's a wonderful history to the sport.
Wow. Yes, it is. I love how everything's so intertwined. I will definitely be visiting there. Is
Good.
there anything that you would like to say to Husker Nation or just college football in general? Anything that you're hoping for in the future or
Well, we're hoping that things really settle down a lot in football. I mean, this all gets a little bit away from the messaging on what the sport is, and some of these aspects, some of the more negative things, are trickling down in the high schools and middle schools, and that's not what this is all about. Football is that platform that you're going to use for the rest of your life. In fact, we use the phrase that by going to college, you're going to create a house in 4 years that you're going to live in for 40. And the talk about money, the talk about transferring from one school to another, we think some of it might be beneficial. Some is foolish. And just imagine go to Nebraska. You're gonna get some money to play at Nebraska because it's a great program and a great conference. And get that degree, move on. And it's worked for an awful lot of people in the past, and it'll continue to work well with the Nebraska fan base and how they pursue things. Doesn't get any better than that. Those Nebraska fans are about as strong and as supportive as they come in the entire country.
that is yeah, that is awesome. I agree. And after that, Steve, I just want to thank you so much for coming on this show and being open to all the questions. That was really great. Thank you.
Well, nice to meet you. And anytime we can help you with anything at the Hall of Fame, you just holler
I
in.
will. I will, absolutely. Can we get a go big red before we leave?
I don't know, Minnie. Let's be careful now. We can always say go big, Red. We can go Red. So
All right.
great fun.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.